Welcome to Colombia! Today, 29 things you should avoid when coming to Colombia. Welcome, wonderful people and Colombia lovers all over the world. My name is Frank. I'm Swiss and I live in Colombia for over 5 years and I run a travel agency here in Bogota. Today we're going to discuss, or I'm going to explain you 29 things you should avoid in Colombia, and of course the most important point is coming at the end. So stay tuned in the video until the end, and then you will hear about the most important thing you should avoid here in Colombia. And as always, here with Colombian coffee. Wonderful. One day I will start selling Colombian coffee all over the world. One of my dreams. So let's give you some background information to all of you lovely people who are on my channel for the first time. Colombia is a country in South America. It has 50 million inhabitants and it is mostly Catholic. That's a very important information for later in the video. Then the ethnic groups you can find in Colombia is a mix of Spaniards that conquered the country, indigenous and African slaves. Then you have very different regions. You have two shores, you have mountains, you have plains. So Colombia is very diverse. And also I divided the video in two parts. The first, what to not talk about, and the second, what not to do. So let's start with what not talking about here in Colombia, and we will start with probably one of the most famous topics when you hear Colombia and coming to people's mind, and this is cocaine. Cocaine, actually the production started in the 70s, but the plantation didn't start in the 70s, mostly was imported from Ecuador and Peru as mass, and then the production of the cocaine itself then was performed in Colombia. Today Colombia is the producer number one, and what you also need to know, the top consumers are not Colombians. No. The top consumers among the top 20 you have our number one, of course, the USA, and then among top 20 you have England and Wales, Australia, Spain, Netherlands, Canada, Italy, France, Israel, Luxembourg. So it would be too easy to just blame Colombians for the cocaine consumption all over the world, because where there is a demand, there is also an offer. Cocaine production in Colombia, it's not just harvesting a plant and producing drugs. No. It's also a big social problem, many murders, many social problems. It's a huge mess that we have in Colombia because of the whole topic of cocaine. So this is certainly a topic you should not discuss with people you just met, with Colombians, to telling everybody, oh yeah, cocaine, Colombians, yoo-hoo. No, that's not a good start into a discussion with Colombians. They're proud people, they're great people, but the topic of cocaine, very delicate. Then also the topic cocaine, and then the second topic you shouldn't discuss with just everybody right away is Pablo Escobar and the cocaine cartels that we have from the 70s to the 90s. Also a very delicate topic, and although all over the world in many medias like Netflix and documentals and other YouTube videos, the whole topic with Pablo Escobar and the cocaine cartels are very romanticized. No, it's nothing romantic about that topic here in Colombia. It's a very difficult topic for the people. If you do not understand what I mean, think about Second World War and Hitler and the Germans that still struggle to discuss that topic freely today. Cocaine and Pablo Escobar discussing here in Colombia can be a very delicate topic. Then also, like in every country where you go, politics can be a very difficult topic, a very hot topic to discuss. Here, especially politics, and Alvaro Uribe, who was president from 2002 to 2010, and people who are supporting this kind or this type of politics today are called Uribistas, and you need to have some background. During the era of Alvaro Uribe in Colombia, there were 10,000s of deaths, and you had false positives, hundreds of thousands displaced people, and also with that right-wing politics, you had a problem with the paramilitares, armored groups on the right wing. So today we have in Colombia a big discussion between left wing, right wing, and better you as a visitor, as a foreigner, don't try to involve yourself in those discussions. Even me, after 5 years living in Colombia, I try to keep myself out of the discussion. Then, talking about the right wing, we also have the left wing. So we had those left wing armed groups. The most famous one was the FARC, and that was an armed conflict from 1964 to 2016, where we had this peace treaty signed by the FARC and the Colombian government, but still it's a big struggle from the country actually to comply with the contract they signed, and we still have left-wing combatant groups. And also discussing this topic here in Colombia, it's not really a go, I can tell you. And also to give you some background, some numbers, so it started 1964. Colombia counts with over 250,000 deaths by this armed conflict, and listen to that number, 7.7 million displaced people. 7.7 million. It's a huge number, and it's a very difficult topic also. Many difficult topics here in Colombia. Then also corruption. Colombia is on the corruption index on the rank 96 of 183 among many other Latin American countries. The problem with corruption, it's partly rooted in the legacies of the Spanish conquest, because when the Spanish arrived, they installed these disorganized and corrupt bureaucracies. And today we have problems that we have the lack of a working legal system and legal institutions that really work. And a very important point, you have missing discipline and the culture of making fast money. Then we also have, of course, because of a very strong religion and the Spaniards that came to Colombia, we have a very strong Catholic Church with the positive and negative effects, and this is also a topic you maybe you shouldn't discuss, and we have related topics to that. We have abortion, of course. In Colombia, abortion is not allowed. Then we have topics like homosexuality. Don't discuss homosexuality here in Colombia. In Colombia, in general, those are topics you don't discuss in general in public, in bars or wherever. When you have friends, when you make good friends, you can discuss many things, but just talking to somebody about those things, it's not a good idea. Then we go to the second section. We go what avoid doing in Colombia. Some very important points. So the first one, when coming to Colombia, avoid buying drugs. Don't come to Colombia buying drugs. And this is not just because I'm against drugs, but it's also a big risk. I remember when I was in Taganga, when I was traveling for my first time to Colombia, 2009, I was in Taganga, and then people, like locals, they told me, you know, the normal trick is that if you buy drugs, then the dealer comes along, they sell you whatever you want, and then the dealer leaves, and as soon as he left and is around the corner, then some policemen arrive and they will search you, and then when they will find drugs on you, then you will go to an ATM and you will stick your card in and you will take out all the money that you can and give them to the policemen, that they will not put you into jail. And I don't know how it is today, but I think it can be still the same, that when you as a tourist and you don't know about the country and you know nobody, that if you're going to buy drugs on the street or somewhere, this might also be one of the risks that can happen to you, or that you also get robbed. And so there are many risks involved. So if you think coming to Colombia and just having some fun and buying drugs wherever you want, there's a certain risk involved, so better avoid buying drugs in Colombia. Then also I told you about the things of corruption. So I tell you, don't bribe, and for several reasons. You might encounter somebody who you can't bribe, and then it will be even worse. I had a situation twice when I was driving around Colombia and at the Caribbean coast, that they, on a checkpoint, they controlled my car and they said, you know, your fire extinguisher is like 1 month over, and yeah, I will not fine you, but you know, I need some new parts for my motorbike. So I explained him, this is against my conviction, it's against my culture, against all my beliefs, and he can write me a fine, ticket if he wants, but I will never give him money. And then he shake my hand and wish me a good trip. Don't bribe. If you get fined, pay your ticket. Then also, what to avoid in Colombia. Don't expect everybody speaking English. In some areas we have more foreigners, like Medellin, we have gentrification, and some people arrive, they think everybody needs to speak English, and this also can be regarded as very offensive. Even when Colombians do not show you right away that they're offended by this kind of behavior, it can be very offensive. Don't try to force Colombians to adapt to you, try to adapt to the country, maybe. Would be a good idea. And yeah, respect the country and the local language, which is Spanish. And then also goes in the same direction. This is something we see in Medellin with the gentrification, people immigrating from countries that have more economic power, that we have some areas where you can see gentrification, and some people immigrate and they think because some Colombians do not have their economic power, then they treat them as second-class people. This you shouldn't do, because you will not see the effects right away, but people will get angry. You can be sure about that. They will not show it to you, but they will get angry. And if you're going to need help one day and they're not happy about your behavior, they won't help. And then we have a very serious problem, and now I'm very serious about this, because this is a big issue in Colombia, and this is having sex with minors. Don't even think about coming to Colombia if you have that in mind. In the past, we had some scandals here in Colombia, starting with Taganga, then Santa Marta, Cartagena, Medellin, and Bogota. And yeah, it's a development country and it happens, and all included in the tourism industry, we try to fight that. But you know how it is, sometimes it's like the head of the Hydra. And also a very disturbing thing is always when you read in the media about that, and also from my local operators, it's always Israelis. I don't know what's going on. I have very good friends, and during my years traveling I made very good friends with very smart and nice people from Israel. But I don't know what's going on, but those people, those Israelis coming to Colombia, or some of them at least, they're stupid, they're perverts. And just telling you something, if you're looking for that, don't come to Colombia. Go and search a very high bridge and jump. Everybody will be happy about that and nobody will miss you. So, sex with children and minors, it's a don't do in Colombia. And then talking about that, there are other perverts. I don't know what's going on. This world is just crazy and the perverts are everywhere. I saw some YouTube channels popping up and you have guys, no girls, just guys, walking around Medellin, Santa Marta and filming girls on the street during the day, in the night, going to the red light district and filming. I don't know what's going on with you perverts coming to Colombia and just filming and showing that on the YouTube channel. But usually you need consent filming people. So if you're a pervert and you want to come to Colombia and filming girls all over Colombia, no, don't do that. Don't even come to Colombia. It's a don't. Don't do it. Very bad. Jump on the bridge. Good. After having some very angry and emotional moments with perverts and this type of people, so let's go on with the list. In Colombia also we have many indigenous tribes, and many of them, they're very in harmony with nature and they don't have too much contact with Europeans, with travelers, with the US Americans, white people, blue-eyed like me, and they also have a different way of life. So if you're getting into contact with indigenous, don't walk on them and stretching your camera in their faces and filming them. Be respectful, talk to them and show respect and adapt to a very respectful behavior to not offend themselves. And many of them, or some of them at least, they don't want to be filmed or taken picture of, and please respect that. And then there is something some people have in their culture and some people don't, and this is bargaining. So people, they love to bargain, they love the discussion and having fun and playing around a little bit. There was a fruit stand with an old lady and they were like bargaining for 20 minutes to have a fruit for 1.8 cents sold then for 2 cents. And you know, you can talk for 5 minutes and bargain a little bit, and that's big fun and cool to have an interchange with local people. But 5 minutes and that's it, because the Colombians, they're not endlessly bargaining. A little bit is good, but not endlessly. They also will get offended. So be careful with overdoing it. Then there's one thing about humor, which I learned, and that's very important for the Dutch, because the Dutch have a very strong and direct and sarcastic humor. Sarcasm in Colombia, very difficult. Many people, many Colombians do not understand sarcasm because, and here if you're making a joke and your facial expression is not changing, then most people will not understand. So, anyway, it's not the best way making friends if being very sarcastic. And also saying that the discussion usually here is not so direct. So if you have issues with somebody, with the Colombian culture is usually that this is not addressed directly, but that you're more smooth and you explain a little bit. And but if you tell somebody right away, what you did here is very wrong and it doesn't work and you're an idiot anyway, people will get very offended. So the local communication is, if there are issues or problems or whatever, people, they discuss for 50 minutes talking about a little bit of everything and then a little bit touching the topic, and people understand each other. But to me, this is still one of the very difficult points to adapt. So my strategy is always, I warn Colombians and tell them, look, I'm Swiss, and if I have something, I will be very direct, but it's not meant as an offense. Then also something very important. I know Colombia has beautiful people, but it's still a development country and sexual diseases are more spread than, for example, in the US or Europe. So if you get to know somebody and you like each other, protect yourself. Safer sex, very, very important. Then also a very important topic, especially for backpackers, don't wander around unknown areas. And this is not only meant within cities, but also somewhere on the countryside. So in the big cities, what can happen, for example, Bogota or Medellin or Barranquilla and Cali, that you get into the neighborhoods where you shouldn't go. And then you might not get out. And as you know, I mentioned it before, Colombia is the biggest coca producer in the world. So you have coca fields all over the country. So if you think you're just going to wander around with your backpack, it might happen that you come to a region where you have armed guys protecting their fields, and they maybe will not be very happy having a foreigner here, seeing that, taking pictures or whatever. So don't just wander to unknown areas. That can get you into big trouble. Also, a very, very important topic. If you're going out or you're having fun with Colombians and you're drinking and they're offering you, for example, rum or whiskey is very famous, and the most important, aguardiente, and people are coming and giving you aguardiente, and usually they come around with a little plastic cup, don't refuse drinking with Colombians. Very important, because this is seen as a very, very big offense. I always try to avoid it, but because I hate aguardiente, I really don't like it. Then also you should avoid in Colombia calling a taxi on the street. And then further, you should avoid getting upset if Colombians turn up late, because usually Colombians are not on time, they're late. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, that can happen, and happened many times to me before, and also will happen to you most probably when you come to Colombia. Then also avoid not paying for girls when going out, because usually they expect the man to pay, especially for paisas when you're in Medellin or the Coffee Triangle. Those girls are kind of traditional, and it's changing, which is good, which is something that I like, but usually, yes, they expect the man to pay. Also, you should avoid walking around with jewelry, smartphone, showing off with your expensive stuff, because if you do that, it might happen that you lose it. Also, what you should avoid as a backpacker, especially in cities like Bogota, because here there is no beach, we are on 2,650 meters above sea level, and you have good restaurants and you have certain dress codes. Even if you can get into good restaurants where people dress up, they go with their families, celebrate special moments, and if you turn up with just flip-flops and you look totally like a backpacker who's coming from 3 weeks spending on a lonely island, local people might get a little bit offended because they think you're not respecting the culture. So take that in account. There's also a point for the public transportation. For example, in Transmilenio, you have blue seats, and avoid sitting on them, because people who are like girls who are pregnant or handicapped people or elderly people, they will tell you that it's reserved for them, and usually you will see the Colombians, they don't even sit on those seats because they know just in case they might be asked for making space. And then, very, very important, avoid going to a Colombian soccer game without wearing the Colombian national football shirt. Very important. If you go to a football game of the Colombian national team and you wear one of those shirts, you will be part of the party and part of the game and part of the local people, and everybody will love you as a foreigner wearing the Colombian colors. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Do not miss very, very precious information in the future. You will find more information in the description section. And if you have questions or comments, write them down in the comment section. I hope to see you soon here back on my channel, or even better, here in Colombia. And I send you all my warmest wishes here from Bogota. Yours, Colombiafrank. See you soon. Bye-bye.